He bent down to grab the package, and I nearly thanked him like always. But instead, I said something unplanned, just casual, nothing serious. He looked up, and for a moment, we both seemed unsure how to respond. I opened the door, and he followed me in to drop the package by the table. Before we get started, if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if this is your first time, welcome. It's good to have you here. All right, let's begin. The porch boards creaked under my bare feet as I stepped outside, the late sun slanting across the wood in long golden stripes. I hadn't turned on the light yet. Didn't need to. The warmth of the day still clung to the air, and the cardboard box resting near the steps looked harmless enough. He was already crouching to grab it. He wore a white t-shirt and work boots, crouched over the package on the porch. He looked up at me with that familiar half-smile, the one I'd seen a dozen times before, just like any other day. I folded my arms, watching him as I leaned against the door frame. "If you're already down there," I said, letting the words slip before I could stop them, "could you carry the box inside for me?" He froze. Then slowly he looked up and met my eyes without standing. One eyebrow lifted. Not offended, not unsure. He was simply waiting to see what I'd do next. I didn't laugh. I didn't explain. I stepped back and pulled the door fully open so he could get through with the box. He didn't say a word. He picked up the box and walked inside behind me to set it down. His shoulder touched mine as he passed, and the house no longer felt as quiet. I closed the door behind him and stayed near it for a moment, watching him settle the box. He stood still for a second, the box still in his arms, as if waiting for me to say something. I didn't. I just tilted my head toward the living room. He moved, and I followed him in. The sun was slipping lower through the windows, turning everything gold. He set the box down near the side table carefully, almost deliberately, but he stayed there for a moment like he was thinking. I stayed near the doorway, watching him for a second before heading to the kitchen. "Water?" I asked, already reaching for a glass. "Sure," he said, calm like he didn't have anywhere to be. I had a feeling he was still watching as I walked. The hem of my sundress brushed just above my knees. No shoes. It was too warm for anything more. I leaned forward to open the fridge, and when I turned back with the glass, he had stepped over to the counter while I was at the fridge. I handed it to him, keeping my grip firm on the glass. He drank, then set the glass down. "Nice place," he said, quiet. "Thanks," I replied, leaning back lightly against the counter. "You in a rush today?" He shook his head slowly. "Not if I don't have to be." I reached past him for another glass, brushing his arm as I did. I just turned toward the sink. He didn't move away. He glanced down toward the counter between us. Not touching, just resting side by side. I didn't move my hand either. We both stayed quiet. His hand stayed there, resting on the counter. I glanced up at him. "You always stay this long." He smiled barely. "Only when I'm invited." My palm didn't move. I shifted slightly toward the counter without thinking about it. "You haven't overstayed yet." His fingers shifted slightly like he was adjusting his hand. I noticed how little space was between us. I hadn't stepped back. He turned slightly, his hand now just beside mine, steady and sure. I let my pinky rest gently against his. He didn't flinch. His pinky touched mine. A small gesture, but I noticed it. I glanced at him, and he was still looking in my direction. He stood still while we ended up close without saying much. He didn't speak. He just lifted his hand from the counter and held mine lightly. He didn't hesitate. He moved his thumb softly over the back of my hand. Then he brought it toward his face and paused, like he was thinking. I hadn't expected that. It caught me off guard, even if it was small. He held my hand a second longer before letting go. Calm and focused, he moved slowly. I stayed quiet, unsure what to say. His other hand rested at my side. I stood still, not backing away. I touched the front of his shirt, then pulled my hand away again. He stepped forward and stood near the counter. I shifted back until I was near the counter. He stayed nearby without moving any closer. I didn't move. He tilted his head. He glanced at me, waiting to see what I'd do. He leaned in slightly, as if deciding whether to speak. He leaned close, and I became aware of how near he was. I reached out, steadying myself. He shifted slightly. Then, like and subscribe if you haven't already, because what happens next changes everything. Could you close the curtains? I asked quietly. He moved instantly. As he crossed the room, I reached up to adjust the chain around my neck. The pendant shifted in my fingers. I walked over slower, gathering my thoughts. Whatever tension had been there finally eased. I turned back from the curtains, already moving. The necklace still hung loose in my fingers, forgotten for the moment. I stepped in close enough to reach out gently, fingers resting for a second near his collarbone. Our lips met, not rushed, not hesitant, just quiet. A simple connection, shared and understood. He lifted one hand to my shoulder, steady and calm, like he was anchoring the moment. Neither of us moved much. The stillness between us held more meaning than words. The room around us was quiet, distant. His other hand rested lightly behind me, support without pressure. I touched his shoulder in return, slow and steady. Our foreheads touched briefly. No words, just closeness. He looked toward the counter, then back at me, a quiet, unspoken offer. I nodded. He stepped in just enough to reach me, helping me sit on the counter edge. The motion wasn't rushed. It felt natural. I adjusted my balance and looked at him again. Knees resting near his sides, not quite touching. My hand lifted to his face, brushing past his temple. When we kissed again, it was slower, thoughtful, familiar even in its newness. My hand settled on his shoulder. His stayed by my side, not holding, just staying there, like saying he wasn't going anywhere. The quiet stretched around us, full and easy. The kiss lingered. Our breaths synced in the hush. He helped me down gently. I stepped off with care and we moved through the room together. Soft steps on wood. I rested my hand lightly on his arm. The calm between us stayed steady. At the couch, we sat side by side. Our eyes met. The understanding stayed. I rested my hands on his shoulder, felt the calm. No rush, no urgency, just presence. He leaned slightly closer, like the world had narrowed to just us. A quiet warmth bloomed in me, not from touch, but from the weight of everything unspoken. A soft sound escaped me, part wonder. His hand found mine, loose and gentle. The room faded to stillness. My head tilted back, eyes closed. The quiet, the closeness, the feeling of being seen settled around me. For a heartbeat, everything was finally exactly right.